I've seen kids that were very astute in the manner that we're speaking, and I've seen them I've watched their nervous systems be flared a bit, and all of a sudden they seem to pull back. Their self-esteem is affected. They're feeling very, very different. And one of the biggest problems I was seeing is that the lack of communication this child was having with his parent, because it was trying to get the parent's attention and the parent was too busy paying attention to something else that wasn't quite as important.
Right.
And this child's needs were completely being ignored. So we do have to be diligent about, as much as we can, as to how we can stay in communication with them. That's the bridge, isn't it?
Yeah, and even providing this vocabulary that the book gives parents the words to use and the definitions. So if the child comes and says, "There's something in my room," instead of immediately saying, "Oh, it's your imagination. Go to bed." You know, go in and sense yourself. There may very well be something in the room that needs to be dealt with. You're
absolutely right on that one. So what exactly is a psychic opening for a child? Give us an idea, like, let's give an age, because you've broken some things down in ages. Around maybe 3 or 4 years old, what are some of the symptoms that we might see in that age group?
I would think, so psychic openings would be a way that the parent can tell something has shifted. So around 3 would be a pretty normal time for kids to start having little imaginary friends who are entities. That would be pretty common, or to start hearing some different voicings.
Okay.
Those would be real common for that age. Around age 8, kids would easily see clairvoyant visioning, and they would, at 8, they're so available to do full-on readings for people, better than you and I could probably even, but they can do all the skills really simply. They just don't have the emotional
grounding or
depth. So it's
life experience.
Yeah,
really.
Life experience.
The wisdom of that,
And at teenage years, it could be very profound, similar to an adult awakening, where it's just a spiritual cracking open of the heart within the heart coming out. And
once in a while, I run into these beautiful kids that are about 16, 17, and 18. And in their heart of hearts, they know who they are, but they don't usually have a good relationship maybe with their parents. And yet they're really good kids. You can see that their heart is open and that they are sensitive. There is a look. And I remember this one kid that I met in public, and he was curious. He came in, and I immediately saw who he was and asked him his name, and we got into a conversation, and I started to give him my understanding of who he is. And when it was over with, he was weeping in my arms, and I was like his fairy godmother, and he was glowing. He was so happy because somebody saw him. I got chills. Somebody saw him for who he really, really is. And at that point, that leveled the field for him to start looking at what he could do and accept his uniqueness as something that is, you know, exceptional and wonderful, and to love that part of himself.
Because when the world is telling you you're doing everything wrong, and then when your core and yourself is actually perfectly in alignment, to have that acknowledged is a really big gift.
What about these children that have the challenges of ADD and ADHD? I mean, I have my own theories on that. What's your idea about that?
No, I'm certainly no expert in that area, but...
well, neither one of us are, but we do have something in the gut that says, hey, there may be something else going on here that...
Yeah, my feeling, and I guess I've also received some channeled writing about this, is that it's all about, or much of it is about toxicities in the food chemicals, the hormones,
the vaccinations.
Yes, but the other things, that wasn't, I mean, I know that whole debate, but that wasn't mentioned in the information I received. It was all chemicals, hormones, the air, the pollution, and it's just creating this toxic overload for the body, and so throws the body out of balance. And in this particular case, it's affecting the brain. Dr. Meg Blackburn-Lucy did a lot of, she wrote Children of the Now. She did a lot of communication with kids who have ADD or autism. And my own experience is when I've worked with kids who have some of those conditions, the telepathy is exact. It's really cool. It's just amazing. Just like,
isn't it fun though,
yeah,
when you have a telepathic experience with somebody? I have them with friends calling me on the phone or all the time. That's their face shows up right in front of me.
Yeah,
and,
that's great.
And now it's the joke,
Yeah.
you know. But I think it's kind of fun when the children and you can relate and get into that sort of that energy that moves back and forth.
And it also seems like if you're a child with, say, severe autism and you're communicating brilliantly, telepathically, but struggling with words, that's a pretty cool, I don't know, just to have that ability to communicate. And so parents can, of course, by their own educating themselves, begin to learn how to do that with their child if they're not already. Yeah.
Okay. Now, there's also another author, Doreen Virtue, and she has a book, wasn't it, Crystal Children?
I think so.
Is that the name of the book, Crystal Children? So that would be another book that people would also want to be checking out, although I've read it, and in my opinion, I think that yours was in depth, very in depth.
I think that is a small book that she, I mean, it's not
I don't
very
think
long.
she did a huge amount of information in there. It was helpful, but not as in depth as your book is. Now, we were talking about the different signs for psychic development, and the psychic children that are 13 to 15 years old, that is such an incredible age because, you know, they're developing younger. In our days, or my days, not yours.
Our days.
No, I don't think so.
Yes, I think so.
I don't think so.
Yes.
Anyway, you know, 12 and 13, you were just sort of gangly. You weren't developed. You were just starting to get into this whole thing about boys. And before that, it was yuck. And then all of a sudden, life changes quickly. Now, these kids are developing at 8, 9, and 10 years old, which is complicating that emotional body just more. And now put the sensitivities on top of that. So I noticed that with these children, we could almost combine these 12-year-olds with the 15-year-olds with some of the things that you were talking about. And one of them is the they're but peer-based. And they don't want to be different. They have a strong ability to concentrate or not. That's one that I would check for their concentration. And so they have a direct connection with the divine. Many times they have a completely different reflection on spirituality, don't they?
Yes, it's not religious at all.
It's not religious
no more.
at all.
Yes, it's
No.
all.
They're independent in their spirituality, is what you're saying. Okay. They can do many psychic skills without a strain, and they have psychic abilities of adults and just not the experience. And they may delve into the darker energies, and there's where I think the parents really, they really need to be paying attention. Okay. We've got just maybe about 3 or 4 minutes left, and how is the technology training a children's brain for the next step in sensory development? Because I think that's an important question.
It's interesting to me. The entire way that when I work in training people in clairvoyance, so often I'll say, put up your screen, and they'll like, what is, you know, it's just a construct, an energetic screen to place your information on, and pretend it's a computer screen. And then I realize, oh, the computer screen is almost like a parallel to how we see clairvoyantly. So here are these kids on computer screens, on their iPad with their, phone, and sending messaging instantly through the ethers. It's all energetic communication. I think eventually the tools, the computers won't even be needed. We'll just be able to do this in our minds, and the kids are being trained to do this right now with the technology that exists.
I think you're on to something there. I really do believe that. Remember we were talking about the concentration, I said yes and no. Well, I think that the concentration these kids put into texting.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
I mean, how they move around and play these games blows my ever-loving mind.
Well, and you know that when you're texting, you're sending intention and thought. It's connecting, it's just a trainer model for telepathy over distance. It's just a...
Exactly.
And we don't have it, we still need the model, but eventually the brain will...
Well, how about those video games where they have these different controls and, they're doing that with their brain, left, right brain, constantly.
Right, shifting and shifting, yeah. I don't know as much on that, but we don't know. Well,
I have opinions on that one too.
Yeah.
There's the good and there's the bad.
That's true.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you
for
coming today and sharing some of that information, because I think it's really important that people know that there is this book, that you are out there and available as a teacher to be working with the parents and the children, and also that they can be in contact with you. I'm sure it's showing up on the monitor how to contact you. So, I think that that's important, that they know that they can also contact www.underwing.com, and we will forward anything that we would get in request to you. Okay, so I'm thinking that I'm going to be closing the show now.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Stretch it out a little bit. Okay.
Yeah.
I want to thank our crew for their wonderful support, and I mean that. And our sponsors, El Pollo Loco in Beaverton on Southwest Cedar Hills Boulevard, and on Gleason Street in Wood Village. For our beautiful flowers here is Westside Florists in Aloha Market Center on Southwest TV Highway in Aloha. And remember to create possibilities in your life and believe in miracles. See you the next time. Thank you for watching Create Your Own Reality, a program about hope, inspiration, and encouragement. If you would like to be a member of our audience for future shows, please email us at createyourownreality@hotmail.com. We are grateful to these local businesses for their support in making this program possible.